And welcome into the Tuesday edition, Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rex Road, Nick Keys are here with you on this Monday morning. We are live. This is actually Tuesday. We're live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership with a buzz is always about great service. Joseph, happy Tuesday morning. How are you?
Doing all right. 1 day closer, 1 day away from the SEC tournament. I'll be living at Bridgestone soon. Get excited.
Busy week for you over there.
Yeah, should be fun, man. Should be a lot of fun.
We'll see what happens.
As we're talking, I'm going through Nick Baumgartner's mock draft. He's got Shedeur Sanders falling to 28.
Does he have Jackson Dart ahead of Shedeur Sanders?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Keep an eye on.
What would you think if your Packers got Matthew Golden at 24? Would you be happy about that?
Doing cartwheels over there, yes.
That'd be pretty good.
I'd
probably.
I
don't know if I buy that's happening though.
I don't think he's going to make it down there that far.
Yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical about that too.
But hey, I would take it.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Those number one receivers are flying off the board, man.
Yes, they are. We got a lot to get into today on the program. We will be hot and heavy into NFL free agency, reacting to day one and what the Titans have done to this point, and also what could still be out there for the Titans as free agency rages on here. Some answers we got yesterday on the quarterback front, elsewhere around the league. Big trade in the AFC South, which we'll get to a little bit later as well, but pretty busy day league-wide yesterday. Not necessarily so much for the Titans.
No, but they lost their boy Zach.
They did.
So he's out of there. Hey, real quick, one more question for you before we get into the free agency stuff. What would you think about James Pierce at 54?
Yeah, I'd do that too.
This is your dream
draft.
I
will sign up for this draft right now.
Golden at 24 and Pierce at 54?
I'll do it.
Dude, that's insane. If that
He's
happens,
not dropping that far, is he?
God, that's crazy.
What the heck did he do at Tennessee?
I mean,
he just look at hype and was like, I'm not going out there. I don't care what you say to me. I'm not going.
Well, I will say that there had to have been at least one Tennessee coach who said very not nice things about it. It has to be. This is here's a quote. There's been a lot of scouting buzz about Pierce's lack of coachability during his time at Tennessee, to the point where some aren't sure he'll go in the first or second round. End quote.
Let me tell you, if he was that good without being able to be coached,
I know.
Imagine if somebody can coach him
right
in the NFL.
Can you imagine? LT part deux. Man,
gracious.
That's wild to me. That's wild.
Wow. I like Nick Baumgartner and the mock draft
friend of the show.
Going on. Yeah, friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of his mock draft is a friend of you.
Yes, it is. The Titans make some moves yesterday. They signed Dan Moore Jr., left tackle, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, to a 4-year, $82 million deal, 50 of which is guaranteed. They also signed Cody Barton, formerly of Washington, and they signed him to a $21 million deal, $7 million per year, 3 years for Barton. So they also brought back Daryl Baker Jr. and Morgan Cox back in the fold, brought back some of their own guys, but the two new additions, Cody Barton and Dan Moore Jr. So, Joe, let's just start with Dan Moore Jr. Obviously, we knew the Titans were going to, in some form or fashion, address the offensive line. I don't know that I believe that they're done addressing the offensive line, so we'll see what happens on that front through the remainder of free agency here. But Dan Moore Jr., 4 years, $82 million. We talked about him yesterday leading into free agency about some of the numbers there and what that looked like. Pittsburgh, at least their fan base, seemed to be pretty happy to get rid of him yesterday based on a lot of things that I read. But it looks like and sounds like he's going to come in and he's going to play left tackle, and J.C. Latham could be moving to the right side. So your initial reaction to the signing of Dan Moore Jr. by the Tennessee Titans?
I'm a little bit skeptical of this one. It's funny because we were talking about Ronnie Stanley a couple weeks ago with the, he's older and stuff. And it's like, it kind of comes down to like, if the Ravens let him go out there, what does that really tell you? Because here's one thing that teams really don't do in this league. They don't let good offensive linemen get away. And I understand a Tennessee Titans fan will hear that and say, well, what about Jack Conklin? Yeah, I mean, it turned out to be, a move that, while defensible at the time, was a disastrous move in the history of this franchise, because then you got into the right tackle vortex that
they still are in.
Well, I guess.
We'll see.
And here's another thing. On top of the fact that Pittsburgh was just fine letting him go out there and get overpaid, and I don't have a problem with the money. I mean, look, if you get decent tackle play from him, it's left tackle. And apparently I know PK at least, and probably others have reported that the plan here is J.C. Latham to the right side. And I'm skeptical, and I have a problem with that too, to be honest with you, because it's like, so all last year, it was all, everything's fine, and Latham's left tackle, and it's going to be great. And you've got like the foremost offensive line guru in your franchise, and you've already bailed on that for a guy who, I'm trying to find these numbers again like this guy has been, and again, last year he got better, but this guy has been one of the worst pass protecting tackles in the NFL. And he's a 4th-round pick, so he didn't come in with the huge expectations. But since entering in 21, the most sacks, 34, the most pressures, 181. The pressure rate of 7.6% is 242nd out of 275 players with at least 500 pass blocking snaps. I'm skeptical, man, and it's just you go back to Dillard and Daly, and I would predict that he will be better than them, because again, last year he did get better. He made progress. He's only 26, but I'm skeptical. And what does it say too that this whole big plan you had for the guy last year, you're already bailing on?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I get division at the moment anyway, you're not going to have to play Myles Garrett twice a year and Trey Hendrickson twice a year. So now look, you're not just going to avoid good pass rushers in the NFL, but he did have to play both of those guys 2 times a year. So I'm sure that his numbers against either one of those guys are probably not all that great, right? When you roll it down.
He gave up the most sacks.
Right.
He gave up 12 last year, but you're right. And now some people, this is an interesting one. We get into the whole, how much does the blame does the QB get for sacks? Because again, I'm reading my site here. The Athletic says they figured that wasn't played like what you just said, but also by having Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at quarterback, I suppose. So maybe the Titans should bring in Russ and see how that goes.
Maybe so.
See if they can do better together.
On the surface, like just in terms of the money, like you look at it and you say, man, it's a 4-year deal. It's $82 million, 50 of which is guaranteed, for a guy that, when you look at the numbers, it's not overly impressive. If you look at him and you've watched him on film and you feel like he can be a serviceable left tackle for you, a serviceable starting level left tackle, then I don't really care about the money. Like the money, this is what free agency is. You're paying too much money to guys that probably at the end of the day, for the most part, are not going to earn it. But that's what free agency is. Like, you overpay for people. So quite frankly, with what they've dealt with on the offensive line the last few years, I don't mind overpaying for guys on the offensive line if it gets it to a level that's at least adequate out there. The other part of this is, I guess, what concerns me more. I realize the guy who drafted this person is no longer here, just in terms of the general manager. But you did draft J.C. Latham 7th overall last year and immediately talked about how it was to be your franchise left tackle, and that Bill Callahan was involved in the evaluation and felt like he could seamlessly transition from the right side to the left side. And here we are, Joe, less than a calendar year from when you drafted him, and you've already given up on that. You've moved him back to the right. Now,
or you will reportedly.
You're going to reportedly move him back to the right. Now, if he ends up being a really, really good player at right tackle, can you live with that? Sure. But you drafted him 7th overall to be your franchise left tackle. And less than a year into it, you're saying, yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to go get somebody else to do that.
And you're moving him for, I'm sorry, a questionable left tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. You know, and the immediate reaction to this, I've seen some out there, is that, well, but he's got Callahan now. And again, the last year obviously does not invalidate or erase like what Bill Callahan has done in his career at all. In fact, he did some magical stuff in the last stop at Cleveland. But I mean, last year the Callahan effect was not what you hoped, collectively, or even again with Jason Latham. Although again, when I came away from that year, I did not come away from that year saying that guy's got to go to the right side. So we'll see. Maybe he'll go to the right side and he'll be way better.
Yeah.
But you're moving him for a guy who there are serious questions about this guy. And I'm not saying he's going to be Dillard or Daly. If he's close to that, it's a disastrous signing. But I'm very skeptical of guys like this at 26 playing a position that important, and the team they were just on was like, yeah, you go ahead, see ya, good luck to you. That says something to me.
Yeah.
That says probably more to me than the very alarming stats around this guy.
So we'll take your thoughts on the signing of Dan Moore Jr. by the Titans. What do you make of the move to place him at left tackle? What do you make of J.C. Latham reportedly going over to the right? We'll also get into the Cody Barton signing a little bit later in the hour. Take your thoughts on the Titans and all things NFL free agency. 615-737-1025. Robbie and Rex Road, 1025-1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Titans and free agency. Dan Moore Jr., formerly of the Steelers, coming in to play left tackle. J.C. Latham moving to the right side. Taking your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Lots of reaction to this so far, Joe. Chris on the text line saying, did you guys forget all the free hits on Levis that Latham let go by last year? A lot of thoughts on the text line.
Read my answer, Robbie.
I don't have it. What'd you say?
I said, yeah, and he still had a better year than Dan Moore. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Ed's like, if Moore can play at Latham's level last year, it's a home run. If a 4-year veteran LT can't match a rookie LT that never played before, then God help us. I said a home run. It's a home run if he plays like Latham did last year. I mean, it's an improvement, I guess. But again, I mean, I know we're going to talk a lot. I can tell already because I know everybody wants these moves to work out. We're going to talk a lot about what you brought up, the Hendrickson, Myles Garrett grading curve. I hope that's that means a lot. As someone pointed out, 5 of the 12 sacks he allowed were to those two guys. But yeah, Ed says compared to what I've seen the past 4 years, it'd be a grand slam. But again, the past 4 years include last year, right? So you're telling me that if this veteran who they just signed for a pretty healthy sum comes in and plays at the same level of what Latham did last year, that's a home run. I can't wrap my head around that one, Ed. It's not a home run. He needs to be better than that. And he was worse than that last year. So I'm skeptical.
I mean, we've talked about Latham. I've said it multiple times. I don't think he's very good the last part of the season. Clearly, they don't either. I mean, right? Like if they thought he was a promising left tackle, like would you go do that? Like I understand the idea of however way you shake it, you've got to solve the tackle spots. They had to solve right tackle. So this is their way of solving right tackle. They bring in a left tackle and they move J.C. Latham over to the right side. So I get it, but it feels like to me, if you came away from last year feeling like J.C. Latham was your franchise future at left tackle, then wouldn't you keep him there? And then you just go solve right tackle some other way.
Right.
But they're clearly not doing that.
And if Dan Moore is a big upgrade and a huge answer for you again, why are the Steelers letting him go? I keep coming back to that. I'm sorry, but I can't get over that. That means something to me. I'm trying to find this. Multiple people have asked about the tweet. Was it Schefter? Maybe it wasn't Schefter. But basically, the tweet about this deal got into the fact that Chad Brinker made the deal. First of all, it's just one of those weird tweets. Yeah, here you go. It's like, Dan Moore reached a 4-year, $80 million, $2 million. It's a super long tweet. And it says, deal includes 30 in 1 year, 50 in the first 2. Jeff Nally and Graylin Crane of CAA negotiated the contract with Titans president of football operations, Chad Brinker.
There you go.
Thanks, Adam, because the entire football public really wanted to know that Jeff Nally and Graylin Crane negotiated that contract.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you continue to let agents write your tweets for you. But, yeah, so people are looking at that like, oh, thanks for the reminder that it's Chad Brinker, not Mike Borgonzi, who's the GM. So I've never really changed on that. I mean, Borgonzi is going to be the face of this. Borgonzi is going to be the guy who talks about this stuff. San Fran makes moves. John Lynch does press conferences. Yet Kyle Shanahan is the guy, right? The final say guy. I think any move, Brinker, Borgonzi, again, we call them Berserker, okay? That's also Burke Nihill, Berserker, okay? Just call it that, and whoever happens to be named gets named. But, I've never changed up that. I've never thought all of a sudden that it was like, oh, yeah, this is all just Borgonzi's show.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't necessarily have a problem with moving Latham to right tackle if he ends up being a great player there, right? Maybe the Titans just misevaluated where he's best at in the league. He played right tackle in college. We talked about that a lot last year when in the immediate aftermath of them drafting him. Now they have spent an entire season working with him on the left side and trying to get the movements and everything that goes into playing the other side. And now it's just okay, well, unlearn that and go back to everything you were doing in college.
Right. Yeah,
it's not like he can't do it. I understand that. And at the end of the day, do I feel better about the tackle setup right now than I did when it was Latham and Nicholas Petit-Frere? Yes.
Sure.
So ultimately, there's been improvement here. I guess I just wonder how much. Like, what's that going to look like?
Yeah, and that's the point Ed brings up, and that's fine. You can't look at this in a vacuum, compare left tackle. You have to compare Latham to MPF as well and what it does to the whole line. And I would agree. I mean, that'll be an upgrade. They won't be a disaster on the right side with Latham there. And what you hope is that Latham takes a big step. Maybe it is. Maybe the move is it's perfect for him. The thing with Latham, of course, is he was at Alabama for 4 years. For 3 or 4. Was he only there 3 years? I think it might have been just 3 years. But either way, that's the only time in his life he played the right side.
Yeah.
So,
but those are pretty important times, though. Like, it's
3
years of college football is a long time.
So you hope that it's natural. Snap your fingers, go back, and I mean that you're right. That will be an upgrade. So but I can't get there on home run. I mean, if Moore is just what he was last year, then we're just going to be talking about left tackle next year.
Well, and it doesn't change my thought process on Latham from the standpoint of you've drafted him at number 7 overall. You need him to be great. Like, you need Latham to be a great player. And preferably when you're drafting somebody at 7th overall, you need him to be a great left tackle. Now, they've given up on that, clearly. I mean, Dan Moore Jr. is going to be a left tackle. So now they need J.C. Latham to be just an absolute pillar at right tackle. And I'm not talking, he's good. He's pretty good. Like, they need him to be an elite level right tackle. And if he's not that, then this is a problem. Like, and I understand that Rand Carthon's gone. Chad Brinker was there. He was a part of drafting this. Like, Bill Callahan was a part of drafting J.C. Latham. They need him to be a great player on the offensive line. And I mean, just the fact that they've decided to do this makes me skeptical about what it's going to be for Latham moving forward here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and look, they've earned skepticism across the board, right? I mean, skepticism should be the default. Tyler points out that Troy Fautanu is the heir apparent. They drafted him a year ago. Again, that's fine. He was 20th pick last year, so he'll slide in there, which makes it less likely that they're going to want to pay this guy. And that's important context. I also would argue that if you have good offensive tackles in this league, you don't let them go. You rarely let them go. Again, the Titans did too. But that's good context. Another thing here, the Latham now that pick becomes a right tackle last year, which some people will be deeply offended by at number 7. Now Jack Conklin was number 8. Yeah. Worked out all right. Right? Like, so if he's going to be good, like really good, and I mean really he's got to be very great.
He's gonna be great
right tackle, then okay. Then that doesn't bother me that you ultimately ended up drafting a right tackle at 7. Again, the Detroit Lions' best players are right tackle, and he makes a huge difference for their entire team. So I don't think Latham's going to be him, but I'm just saying.
That doesn't bother me either. What bothers me about it would be the misidentification of what he is. Yeah. Like, you thought clearly that he could be a left tackle, and less than a year into it, you're moving on. Like, you're moving him right back to the right side. So it's like, okay, is he not as good as you thought he was? Did you misidentify his ability to go play the left side? Could Bill Callahan not bring the best out of it? Like, what's going on here? Like, it's pretty quick into his career to be coming to this decision, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, well, he could just play left tackle in the future. I mean, I guess, at some point, but it's a 4-year deal. It's at least the next 2 that Dan Moore Jr. is going to be on the left side.
Right. Yeah, because he's never done it. He has not done the other one that I know of. So, yeah, you're a right tackle now. It all comes down to, I mean, it's a gigantic year for Bill Callahan Sr., for Big Bill. Yeah, huge year, because it's got to pay off this year. And I just look at this, and I mean, to me, the preferred answer here would have been the guy Vrabel got, who we talked about yesterday. I always want to call him Moses Moody, which is just a real problem. Morgan Moses. Start
calling him Moses Moody, and like Kendrick Perkins is going to flash in front of my head. Yeah.
3 years, 24 for a straight up clear right tackle.
Yeah.
Older, but again, so it's more of a patchwork job there. But I just, then you're way less investment. You know what he is, and you keep Latham over there. But this is what they've done. So Latham's got to get better, and this guy's got to be a lot better than he's been.
More of your thoughts on the signing of Dan Moore Jr., plus what could still be coming for the Titans on the offensive line. They did make another signing yesterday that we'll get into as well. Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Tune in tomorrow on 102.5, 106.3 The Game for Vanderbilt men's basketball as the number 12 seeded Commodores take on number 13 seed Texas in the SEC men's basketball tournament. Tip off at 2:30, pregame beginning at 2 o'clock. Coverage also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. Robbie and Rex Road brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Continuing to take your thoughts on the Titans and the signing of Dan Moore Jr. Joe, a lot of thoughts on this signing, what this means for the offensive line, how much better have the Titans actually gotten with Dan Moore Jr. on the left side, J.C. Latham on the right side. Some on the text line think it's a massive upgrade. Some not as excited about the signing of Dan Moore Jr. on the text line.
Again, I agree with the point that you're better at right tackle now. You move Latham there, you're better. So that's good. So that's a collective step forward. But if Dan Moore is not, he's got to be better than Latham was last year, left tackle.
Yes.
Or it's, again, are you better? Yes, but like the collective improvement is not enough to me to justify this price tag. So look, people, again, last year, we've talked about this, but last year there was a step forward for Moore. Despite the 12 sacks, yes, 5 of them to the big 2 there that he played in the AFC North. As Cam points out, pass block win rate, 92.5%. Also, Cam says, and I can't believe I'm going to agree with Stilly, but maybe the most important stat is that he plays. Durability is good, but, durability has its limitations if you suck. That's also the case. I'm not saying he will.
Andre Dillon's pretty durable here.
He was. I mean, he answered the bell every week. Andre, are you sure you can play? Hey, man. If you're not good, you can sit.
My God, he's still out there. He's just going on.
Andre, man, you look tired, man. Take a break, maybe. Don't play this week. Yeah, I'm skeptical. It's a huge year.
And let me be clear. I don't think that Dan Moore Jr. is Andre Dillon. Just pointing that out there.
Yeah, it better be a way better than that. But again, like when you talk about 4 years of football and you have been almost the worst pass blocker in the league, I'm sorry. It's
the skepticism is warranted.
Yeah. Again, it got better last year. So what does that mean? That's the big question, right? Last year's improvement in some ways. How much improvement was it? Is that the trend? Is Callahan going to get the most out of him? All those, those are fair questions. I'm not saying it's hopeless. I'm just skeptical.
Well, and this is, again, a situation where you would hope that before signing him to this contract, and I'm sure this is the case, that they did a pretty deep dive with Bill Callahan to ask him what he thought about this guy. And I'm sure that Callahan watched the film, and I doubt very seriously. And I know that some people think that this is just some lame duck year for this coaching staff, and maybe that's what it ends up being. But I still doubt very seriously that Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi, and this group go out and sign him if it's not with the blessing of Bill Callahan, right? If so, then I don't know what they're doing over there.
Well, that'd actually be a good question for Stilly.
Yeah.
He wants the coaches get the coaches out of the personnel. Here you go. Hey, Bill, see this guy? Yeah, that's your new left tackle. Thanks, Bill. Yeah,
I hope it didn't go that way.
Can you grab me a coffee? Yeah, I mean, I would hope so too. He's an incredible resource. Again, one underwhelming year here with a team that had all kinds of issues does not erase decades of what he's done in the league. So, yeah, you'd hope that he liked it. But again, he loved Latham last year. He talked up Latham as the left tackle last year. That's over now. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's again, I think what you said earlier in the show is exactly how people should proceed with this group moving forward. Like, skepticism should be the default. And then if you're pleasantly surprised, great. Like, I hope Dan Moore Jr. comes out there and he is just an absolute wall and it's just awesome next year. It'd be great. Michael from Madison on the text line says, if I never have to see PT on the field again, that contract is worth every penny.
We don't call him PT on this show, Michael.
I'm just
but
other
than I'm talking to Michael. That's not that's some weird dumb thing that Stilly made up. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm looking forward not having to watch Nicholas Petit Frere.
and hear PT.
Now, the work's not done for the Titans on the offensive line. They still need another guard. So is that going to be re-signing Dylan Radins? Is there anybody else out there on the guard market that they feel comes in and can fit what they want to do? I mean, the guards get a lot of money on the market. We talked about, the tweet from Pete Prisco yesterday in terms of like the feeling around the league was that the guards were going to get paid a lot of money, and a lot of those guys were good players, very few great players on that front. We saw, Green Bay had a huge deal with a guard. Like there's
Who'd they get?
The dude from San Francisco who's right now name escapes me. Hold on.
I know I saw Breedison. We mentioned Breedison yesterday. I think he re-upped. You got Becton out there.
Aaron Banks.
Okay. You got Freeze. You still have Freeze out there.
Freeze is out there.
You got Becton out there. Yeah, Macari, the Jags got Macari, Patrick Macari, 3 for 37.5. Tevin Jenkins is out there. No, look, I don't have a problem with the Titans. We've talked about Scherf. He's out there still. I don't have a problem. The Dolphins got James Daniels. I don't have a problem with the Titans re-signing Radins, but the idea should be that he's your swing guard.
Yeah.
You got to sign a starter.
Should Will Freeze be the target for the Titans?
I think he's good. And again, does he fit what Bill Callahan wants, or does that matter? Does he fit what Bergonzi wants? Does that matter? Does he fit what Brinker wants to sign and have Schefter tweet about? I don't know, but yeah, he's the most highly regarded guy still on the board right now.
Yeah, we've had some people bring up Skoronski on the text line in terms of, all right, so Skoronski now is going to be playing with his third different left tackle next to him in a 3-year span.
And they made a huge deal out of that, the whole
Skoronski-Latham
combo for years to come.
Right. So how big a deal is that going to be? I don't know. We'll find out. Now, he's also, at least at the start of the year, going to be playing with a different center. We'll see what the Titans decide to do on that front and how long Cushenberry is going to be out. But you got, now a different left tackle, left guard combo that Skoronski has to deal with for the third time in 3 years. And then I still think right guard's really important. Like, I'm with you. I don't mind Radins coming back if it's to be the swing guard. I don't want Dylan Radins being the starting right guard for this team. And like, maybe that's where they end up having to go. I don't know. But I think the bar should be higher than that. Like, the money part of this as it relates to Dan Moore Jr., I don't really care about. I have no problem with the Titans using the money this offseason and trying to fortify the offensive line. Right now, with the way things are set up in the draft, they don't have a third-round pick. You're just simply not going to be able to address everything in the draft. So I have no problem with them throwing money at the offensive line. I wouldn't have had a problem yesterday if they threw a little money at the edge rusher, too. They haven't done that to this point, so we'll see what that looks like. But even though you've just spent a lot of money on a left tackle, I don't mind you spending more money on a guard. Like, try the best you can to get that line to where it's competent next year.
Yeah, your Packers spent $77 million over 4 on their guy, so
they did.
I'm messing around, man. No, yeah, go get somebody for sure. Before free agency is over, if there's another tackle or guard, okay. Yeah, I think you got to remake that room largely. So, texture here. I'm going back and forth with the texture. Is like, hey, last year I listened to you and Robbie around this time talk about MPF. We all saw how that went, and that is true. Both of us thought he would not be an abject disaster, and that it was worth trying him at right tackle. And again, I think what we talked about was, okay, so he's had all this stuff, gambling, missed time, etc. Also, they just brought in Bill Callahan. Does that not matter? Would that not help him?
Let the record show I did not want Nicholas Petit-Frere to be the starting right tackle last year. So
okay, well there you go. Okay, so it was just me. I thought,
but you and Kuharski. I didn't think he was going to be what we saw last year.
Yeah,
like I'm not going to sit here and act like I thought he was going to be the worst right tackle in football, which is what he ended up being.
Yeah. It was like, improving on it would have been a good idea, but I get it. It makes sense to give him a shot. Well, it was terrible. It was terrible. So They need some of these things to start working out their way. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a law of averages here with Dan Moore.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but maybe.
Maybe so. Titans did make another signing yesterday. We'll get your thoughts on that at the linebacker spot. Plus, what's going to be left on the table at quarterback for the Titans? We'll get into all that coming up. Robbie and Rexroad, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rexroad, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the signing of Dan Moore Jr. on the tackle side of things. Joe, the Titans did make another signing yesterday. Cody Barton, linebacker, signed to a 3-year deal, $7 million per year. And you look at a guy, he's had, I think, over 100 tackles each of the last 3 years. Now, I saw this from TD yesterday, pointing this out. 2022, Barton had 136 tackles. He had 121 in 2023, 106 last year, which sounds good. And then TD says, you got to wonder if it's an improvement coverage-wise. That's where the Titans are lacking a veteran. But don't forget James Williams, Cedric Gray, part of the fold as well. What do you make of the Cody Barton signing, who I guess figures to be the starter alongside Kenneth Murray Jr. at this point for linebacker?
I suppose that would be the plan. Well, first of all, it's not a great reflection. I'm not surprised they need to do something, but let's remind ourselves. You mentioned Cedric Gray, not a great reflection on the regime last year, which included Chad Brinker. Wasn't just Rand Carthon that drafted Cedric Gray.
Oh, was he there?
I think he was there.
All right.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, I mean, Williams, I think, he's a special teams guy. That's how he's going to, be in the we'll see. I mean, if he can keep developing at some point, but I wouldn't really right now consider him like seriously in the mix as like a heavy snap guy at that position. So I think you're right. I think your starting 2 is probably what it is. So they needed to do something. It seems like, reading the tea leaves, maybe there are a couple of guys who went up the board yesterday that they would have preferred, would have paid more for. But I think it was an important signing for sure. On the Brinker thing, by the way, Texture says, wasn't Brinker supposed to be their cap guy? So I remember Rand mentioning that. The tweet mentioned the contract details. Maybe think he's probably still doing salary cap, so he'd be heavily involved in contract negotiation for what it's worth. Well, actually, their cap guy is Vin Marino, Craig, who's been there forever through several regimes. These teams, what they all have to have a cap person who is paid handsomely to handle the cap because it exists.
And Brinker has worked with the cap before.
So Brinker, yes, what you're thinking of, Craig, is that when Rand hired him, he talked about 2 models, one of which was the oft-discussed injury model, right? And then also something to some sort of a model to do with the cap. But no, he's not their quote-unquote cap guy. So he's as much the GM, if not more, the GM than anybody else here.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't bother me, I guess, that he was doing the negotiation with Dan Moore.
It's just a weird tweet.
It's just a weird tweet from Schefter. Like, I don't know if I saw that tweet on anybody else. It's like, this is who negotiated this deal for the 49ers. This is who negotiated this deal for the Packers. I didn't see that on any of the
They
others.
had sandwiches, then tea, then they signed the contract. Thank you, Adam.
So, like, it's not a huge deal at the end of this, but I think it does kind of show you that Chad Brinker is going to have his hands all over this as they move forward.
He's in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, he is at the top of the pyramid. So, yes, like moving forward, if things go poorly, I mean, we'll see. I mean, who the heck knows what ownership may do? But like, if things go poorly, like the idea that like a Borgonzi could be on the hook, but a Brinker wouldn't be, makes zero sense at all. But,
absolutely not.
But hey, lots of things have not made sense about this franchise.
So, Joe, an update on the quarterbacks. Sam Darnold officially in Seattle. You've got Justin Fields landing with the New York Jets. Still no clarification exactly on where Rodgers is going to end up, although Mike Florio put it out there that there could be a deal in place between Rodgers and the Steelers as soon as today. So it does sound like Pittsburgh is in the driver's seat for the services of Aaron Rodgers at this point, which then leads to what in the world's going to happen with the New York Giants. Who's going to be the quarterback of the Giants? Will they turn to Russell Wilson? Will it be someone else? There was some stuff thrown out there yesterday that the Titans could have some interest in Russell Wilson, which has since been, I think, dismissed. PK put it out there last night.
PK blew that up.
He said that was never really a thing, that the Titans had any interest.
I mean, he obviously checked. He checked on it. You could tell based on – and who did have that, by the way?
Was that there was so much going on yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't
a lot of stuff flying around. First. But anyway, the way I read PK when he wasn't out there crapping on Jordan Schultz and getting himself killed, the way I read that was that he went and double checked with the Titans, and they were like, no.
Yeah.
So Russ is out.
This is the tweet from Kuharski. I don't know if the Titans are interested in Russell Wilson. There's a report out there, or if Wilson is interested in people thinking the Titans are interested. We'll see. And then later, Kuharski followed it up with, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, he followed it
He
up.
basically, it said, he said, told there was nothing to this on the Russell Wilson point.
Yeah.
So, doesn't look like Russell Wilson's going to end up here.
Yeah. So, Dan Moore, Dan Moore, some people want to believe that Dan Moore's sacks allowed are all because of Russ. So I guess he breathes a sigh of relief, right? That guy made me look terrible.
Thank God.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been perfect last year, not for him just running right into the guy I was blocking, like putting his head down and tackle me.
Well, Zach Wilson ended up in Miami. So Zach Wilson
lost opportunity.
The QB room of Zach Wilson and Will Levis. Ain't going to happen, at least here.
And by the way, because I definitely don't think Zach Wilson was the answer as a backup if you're drafting, a quarterback.
No.
Mac Wilson, a little more believable.
Mac Jones.
My God, it's never going to stop.
Really going to bother you.
I need him to be out of the league as soon as possible. Both of them, preferably. But you know what? A backup who, like Jacoby Brissett, again, I think is like perfect for the backup role if you're going to draft QB.
Yeah.
Another guy, Josh Dobbs, would have been good, but the Vravester struck again.
Yeah.
The Vravester struck again and got him. So he is Drake May's backup now, which brings up Joe Milton being on the block, which brings up the whole PK trying to start a war of news-breaking NFL dorks.
Oh, it's awesome. What are your thoughts on the Darnold deal? So he ends up with a 3-year deal, $100.5 million, gets $55 million in guarantees. What do you make of that deal for Darnold in Seattle?
Well, I think what it shows you is, look, the market, like the Vikings were right in their decision to not tag him. And they would have been overpaying by quite a bit, which look, I'll raise my hand. There's another great example of me not reading the markets well in this league, because I'm
right there with you.
I thought he played well enough to be a guy, at least in the 40s, around 40. The way these quarterback salaries are soaring, I think that's a good cheap deal for Seattle. And I mean, they're deciding to do a reset. Metcalf's out of there, Geno's out of there. I mean, they don't look too good next year at this point. There's a long way to go with player acquisition, but I think it's a decent opportunity for him. And here you go. You're going to have some time with the team to try to grow with the team and show that you're that guy. And if he can pick up where he left off last year, well, not right where he left off, but if he can build on the overall performance, I mean, they in a couple of years, they may be real happy with how little they're paying for what they're getting.
Justin Fields with a 2-year deal in New York, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. I don't know what they're doing, but we'll see what that ends up looking like. I don't know if they're going to draft somebody or I don't know. But I can tell you that Justin Fields in New York is not going to go well. So we'll see how that goes out there. Not a great organization and a player that has not shown much of anything at the NFL level. So.
And it's like at this point, if you're a quarterback, I mean, I understand
you take the deal.
You take the deal. You take a potential opportunity. But I have to think that a rookie's part of the plan, right?
You would think. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Speaking of rookies potentially being a part of the plan at quarterback, what's next at quarterback for the Titans? There are still some options out there on the free agent market.
Mac Wilson.
Big fan of Mac Wilson here on this program. Will the Titans address quarterback in free agency? Or is the plan already in place for what they're going to do at quarterback with a certain rookie? We'll get into that. Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hour number 2, Robbie and Rex Road, 1025, 1063 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rex Road, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Robbie and Rex Road, brought to you by First Horizon, big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get it all. Your thoughts on the Titans, NFL free agency, the moves that have been made to this point, which we've discussed, we will continue to discuss throughout the show, and what could be coming for the Tennessee Titans. And Joe, until there's an answer, everybody's going to discuss quarterback for the Titans. We mentioned Fields is in New York, Darnold to Seattle. It looks like Rodgers could be going to Pittsburgh. We'll see what that ends up looking like. Russell Wilson's still out there. Kuharski putting it out there last night. The Titans do not have interest in Russell Wilson, which is good. I'd have to come up with some sort of slogan. There was, the Broncos country, let's ride. Steelers country, let's weld. I have to come up with something for the Titans.
Let's honky tonk.
Sure. Why not?
Let's tighten up. We don't have to do it.
Glad we're going to avoid that.
Good. Yeah.
Doesn't look like Russell Wilson's going to come here. So that leaves the question, who is coming at quarterback for the Titans? We threw out Mac Jones yesterday. Andrew threw it out that Zach Wilson and Mac Jones were two names that he was hearing the Titans could be interested in. Wilson ends up elsewhere. Mac Jones is still out there. Mac Jones has not signed anywhere, so keep him on the list of possibilities. Jameis Winston is still out there. As a couple texters pointed out yesterday, Gardner Minshew, I guess, is still out there, so you have to keep that in mind as well. Some people, though, are saying that the Titans and their lack of seemingly interest in the quarterback market here in terms of Darnold, in terms of Rodgers, all of those things, Joe, indicate that they've made their decision on Cam Ward and that they're just going to take Cam Ward at number 1 overall, and he's going to be the pick. Matter of fact, Stilly will not entertain the idea of anything else now that they've passed on Darnold. It's Cam Ward, and that's what it's going to be for the Tennessee Titans. Do you read it that way as well? Do you think the Titans are leaning towards taking Cam Ward at number 1 overall? How do you view the way that the quarterback market is shaping out for the Tennessee Titans?
Well, I have to think that it's the most likely outcome is that they're drafting a quarterback. The most likely of that would be Cam Ward. I'm not going to put 100% Cam Ward. I mean, I do think Shedeur Sanders is possible. I think Shedeur Sanders, and you could argue with his skill set might fit a little bit more of what Brian Callahan likes. But yeah, the most likely outcome right now is Cam Ward, Titans quarterback, number 1 overall pick in 2025. Dismissing anything else as like 0% chance, that's a little extreme, but some people are a little extreme and make declarations like the Rams, they want Sam Darnold. And, that turned out to not be true. They wanted Stafford out. They wanted Darnold. It's trying to read tea leaves here, but it's hard for me to, I can't come up with another good possibility unless Mac Jones is the choice. And it really is like the Titans. Well, first of all, or they have an incredibly inflated view of him. Maybe he's going to be the comeback player of the year next year. Maybe he'll be next year's Sam Darnold, or like it's just basically a fank.
Yeah.
And, and just have one more bad year, be at the top of the draft again, I guess change coaches and then see what happens.
Well, I'm looking at the FanDuel odds. Cam Ward is the overwhelming favorite to be picked number 1 overall. He's minus 320. Abdul Carter is the next highest odds at plus 210. So Cam Ward is the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick. And at the moment, the team that's the favorite to draft number 1 overall is the Titans, who hold the number 1 overall pick. Now, it's minus 155, so it's not like it's some overwhelming odds that they have. The Giants are at plus 135, which is going to be interesting. Like, if the Giants strike out on Rodgers, do they just turn to Russell Wilson and are cool with it? Or is that going to make the Giants hyper aggressive to go up to try to get Cam Ward? If you're the Titans and you love Cam Ward, then to me, it probably wouldn't matter how hyper aggressive the Giants are. Like, to me, this comes down to how much do the Titans like Cam Ward? If they really like Cam Ward, then you take Cam Ward at number 1 overall. If you don't, then you're hoping like mad that Aaron Rodgers signs with Pittsburgh, and that puts the Giants in a bind, and they try like mad to move up and get him at number 1 overall. That's kind of where things stand right now. It kind of feels to me like it's going to be the Titans who draft Cam Ward, or it's going to be the Giants who draft Cam Ward.
That makes sense. So in the meantime, the Titans are going to do something in free agency. Is it possible that you do something in free agency that could be A or B? In other words, I mean, Mac Jones. So if the Giants have an offer that's so absurd you can't possibly decline it, and you say, okay, then Cleveland's going to take Shedeur Sanders, and we're going to take, I say, Travis Hunter, but Abdul Carr, one of those two guys at 3, and we'll get more picks, and let's hope Mac Jones can be a good starter. But if it doesn't knock our socks off, we have him as a backup to Cam Ward, our quarterback. Is it an either or situation? Could it be? Could you view it that way? Could you frame it that way?
I think you could. I mean, here's what I would say. If the Titans' plan is to draft Cam Ward, I'm cool with that. I don't want Will Levis as the backup quarterback to Cam Ward. I think you need somebody with a little bit more experience. And I talked about this at the beginning of the offseason. I also think you need somebody that could come in and you're not worried to death about them turning the football over all the time as the backup quarterback. Now, that does not jive with Jameis Winston either, right? Like you'd be worried about Jameis Winston coming in and turning the football over all the time if he was your backup quarterback. So, like, is Mac Jones that guy? Like, has Mac Jones been around long enough for you to be comfortable about him being the quote unquote veteran in the room? I mean, I think that would depend on who you ask, right? Like, he has played a significant amount of football in the league. He's not been around that long. So do you want like an older guy? Like I don't know. Do you want Gardner Minshew to come in and to be your veteran quarterback behind Cam Ward?
Yeah, even with Minshew, it's like, he first of all, it just did not go well for him. I feel like he's getting worse. And also he runs around and does weird stuff too, like, Matt Jones is probably safe enough, I guess. And really, if you're Mac Jones, obviously all these guys want another chance to start. It's one of those things where let's say it was Mac Jones and Cam Ward, early in the season, maybe Mac Jones starts. But he probably, the reality for him in this league is he needs to embrace that he's probably going to be a QB2 for many years in this league. So be a QB2.
Yeah.
So he could be one here. I think it was Mike Herndon who threw this out there. You could throw a little Marcus back in town. You could go with Marcus.
I saw that.
A lot less picks than Jameis.
He does.
Go with one of the top 2 picks from 10 years ago.
I mean, here are the quarterbacks
Brissett, that we've mentioned, that
are in that kind of backup mold that are still out there. I mean, Daniel Jones, we'll see what happens with him. Jameis, Gardner Minshew, Marcus Mariota. Then you get into like the Drew Locks and the Carson Wentzes. You could bring back Mason Rudolph, I suppose. One that I don't think I would mind seeing. Like I wouldn't mind drafting Cam Ward and then bringing in Jacoby Brissett to be the backup.
No, I think Brissett is absolute quintessential backup who can start in a pinch for you and can mentor a young quarterback and all that stuff. Jimmy G. Now, did you see how much he got from the Rams, by the way?
What was that number?
A whopping $4.5 million.
Yeah.
$4.5 million for a year from the Rams. We talked about him. We threw his name out there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long ago at all that he was still seen as a viable starter in the league. So, but yeah, I think Brissett, again, I think Dobbs could have been a decent option in that way. I don't hate Mariota. What a nice
Bring
story
him home.
it would be. Wouldn't that be nice?
Just move it. Hey, Will, give me back that number 8.
Yeah, that's right. The real number 8 is back.
Number 8.
The real 8 is back.
615-737-1025, our phone number. What are the Titans going to do at quarterback? Has the way that this is all kind of shaken out here with the veteran market evidence to you that the Titans are drafting Cam Ward at number 1? We'll get into that more coming up next. Robbie and Rex Road, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rexro, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on NFL free agency, the Titans, and the quarterback position. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Joe, a guy that we have spent some time talking about as a potential target for the Titans in free agency, Javon Holland, formerly of the Dolphins, at the safety position, has a new deal. It is with the New York Giants. The Giants, according to Ian Rappaport, have signed him to a 3-year deal, $45.3 million. It can get up to 46.8, and the real number, $30.3 million guaranteed for Javon Holland. So take a safety target, potentially, off the board for the Titans.
Yep. I feel like that was a worthwhile pursuit and a real pursuit. And you're not going to get everybody. And again, like it's, the Titans, when you're a team like this, sometimes it's tough. Now, granted, picking the Giants is also, you're not ring chasing in 2025 there either. But
maybe he thinks Russ is going to come in there and be great.
So Rodgers, we think, is going to the Steelers.
That's the way it looks. Like, Florio said there could be a deal in place today. We'll see.
So the Giants, the Giants going Russ. So the Steelers guys could just fan out to the two New York teams next year?
They could.
If the Giants get Russ, is that enough for them to lose their appetite to move up to 1?
I would not lose my appetite to move up to 1.
I wouldn't either. But is Russ? Yeah, and obviously you ask him, and he's like, "No, I'm a top starter in this league." But is he a mentor, caretaker guy that you want for a rookie?
All I know about him, he seems like a nice enough guy. The birthday party stuff aside in Denver, where apparently just like his teammates didn't show up to his birthday party. Big deal up there. But he's now gone from Seattle. It did not end great there between him and the organization and some of his teammates, by the way.
Right.
Denver looked like, and I know the Denver was mostly on the field, although the last year he played quarterback on the field in Denver, it wasn't that bad. Like, he actually played okay. They were ready to get rid of him. I understand he made an astronomical amount of money, so you have to factor that in. Pittsburgh, he came in, he made the playoffs, and they're already wanting to push him out the door. So what is it about him that has no staying power where he is? Now, he was in Seattle for a long time. I understand that. But again, I don't know that he's the most popular teammate. There's all that weird stuff in Denver about how he's like, yeah, I want my own office up here. It's like, what are you talking about? Just go be a quarterback.
Well, yeah, Marshawn Lynch talked about he couldn't, you had to schedule an appointment to talk to the guy and stuff like that. Now, again, that's when he's they win a Super Bowl and when he's on his rookie deal and all that stuff. So, I mean, I would assume he's been humbled a little bit here, but yeah, it doesn't seem like he's the most beloved guy in a particular team at any given point. So, Texture says Russell Wilson would be a major upgrade to what they have now. Yeah. Well,
talking about the Giants?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a really long text. Maybe talking about the Giants. I mean, look, it's fair. I mean, look, that's fine for both teams. But yeah, I think Russ is just, he had that run with the Steelers and it was it looked better when he replaced Fields, and because I was skeptical when they did that. And then it just, then all of a sudden the turnovers really were bad, in some of those games. So I don't know. He's, how old is Russ now? Russ is, he came into the league in a 12 draft.
He's 36.
Yeah.
He'll be 37 in November.
Yeah. It's, and a lot of his, when he was at his best, it was just the off schedule running around, making ridiculous plays. And, that stuff like that, if that's a big part of your game, you figure that the clock ticks a little louder when you get to the late 30s.
Cam on the text line, no confirmation if it's Cam Ward or not, says, to me, it's really clear one of two things are happening. Cam Ward, no matter what, Titans take their shot at a franchise quarterback, or number two, Borgonzi is playing chess with Joe Schoen to get a overpay, and the board is starting to tilt in Borgonzi's favor.
Yeah, I've said this a lot of times, but I mean, I think when it comes down to it, sure. I mean, if they think the Titans are really going to take him, then then that's more incentive for them to offer more. But when it comes down to it, it really is what the Giants think of Cam Ward,
Yep.
right? I mean, it really is. It comes down to the Giants' belief and desperation to have him.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. If they don't think that, if they somehow feel confident, okay, well, their Titans are out on him, and they can't now. And then also like, yep, the Browns are whatever. Browns are big on Shador. Browns are gonna go, Abdul Carr, whatever it is. Then you could just stay there and hope you get your guy. But I mean, to me, if you really want him, I think you're gonna do what it takes to move up 2 spots.
I got one.
Or you're gonna
texter.
try, and then maybe the Titans are like, no, actually, we're taking him.
Got one texter that says, "Bring Marcus back to Tennessee. Can't be any worse than what we got." Like, are you talking as a starting quarterback? Bring Marcus back as the starting quarterback? If you want to see me drop a 12-pound bowling ball on my foot repeatedly, do that. Go bring Marcus Mariota back as a starting quarterback.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago. He had that nice opportunity. Well, that 2 years ago, right? Atlanta. He had a heck of a start.
He wasn't very good
for early in the season. He had some very nice wins.
He did.
Very good performances. Faded on him a little bit. Yeah, no. I mean, in all seriousness, of course not. But
and even on the backup front, like I'm with everybody that says it's not a bad idea in terms of like he would be a great mentor. He would be, he's been around for a while. He would help the young guy. I don't know that Marcus Mariota is going to have any interest in coming back here to be a backup quarterback. That's just me, my general read on it. I could be wrong about that, but like the place where you were drafted number 2 overall and it didn't work out, like you coming back to be the backup, probably not.
Right. Like how, like certainly that's the case with Tannehill because like Tannehill kind of got hosed. Marcus, they gave him the full opportunity, but yeah, how often do you ever see that? When someone would come back around, if it doesn't work out, even though it's like different front office, different coaches, it's still just weird.
I think he's actually a pretty good fit for where he was in Washington.
I do too.
As a backup quarterback.
I do too. No, I do too. And I think he was a good fit. Like he's a good fit, for like Jalen Hurts, like offenses that do a lot of QB run stuff. Marcus can still do that.
He can. Get the tush push. Did he learn how to do that in Philly?
I don't know. I mean, we hope it gets banned, right? Isn't that this show's official stance? Ban the tush push?
The official stance of this program.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts on the quarterback market. What are the Titans going to do at quarterback? And is it as simple as Cam Ward is going to be the next quarterback of the Tennessee Titans? We'll have more on that coming up. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode at 7:45. And we'll continue to keep you updated on the latest in NFL free agency as well. Robbie and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Join 102.5, 106.3 The Game for an SEC watch party as we broadcast live from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Mellow Mushroom on Broadway tomorrow, Assembly Food Hall on Thursday, and the Pub in the Gulch on Friday. On-site coverage of the SEC tournament brought to you by Toyota, Guinness, thenewcumberland.com, Volunteer Hose and Gasket, and Sloan's Motorcycle and ATV. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/events.
Hey, got a suggestion on the YouTube chat.
Okay.
Top Tier says, tighten up. Let's not cry about signings before they even get on the field. It's completely unproductive. That's a good point. The Titans have signed Mac Jones to be their quarterback. I have no comment. I will comment after the first game. I have no opinion on this. What else should we do with the show?
Yeah.
What else can we do?
It'd be great content.
Yeah.
People will be lining up for that one.
No takes at all on any of these things. They may be great.
Guys,
they may be bad.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll just wait and see how it all plays out.
Well, our next show will be the Monday after the first game.
Yeah. That'll be good. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. This is part of what makes the NFL great. Part of what makes sports great is you can talk about the sports that you love all year round. And the NFL, to their credit, has mastered the ability to do that. Whether it's the combine that people somehow still get excited for, free agency, the draft. Not too long from now, we'll have OTAs, training camp coming up. I mean, it's a year-round thing with this league.
Yeah. So some of it's good, like free agency. There's actual players being signed. The draft is great. The combine sucks. OTAs suck. Minicamp sucks. Training camp sucks. And then there's games, which are the greatest.
Yes.
So, but we'll talk about all of it.
Yeah, like I also understand, like, if you're a Titans fan sitting here today, it has been an absolute tire fire for the past couple of years around here from the standpoint of the on-field product combined with your owner firing people all the time. And you're looking to see, all right, when does the upswing start to happen? Like, when are you getting back into playing relevant football? And can you get significantly closer to doing that this offseason? So when you go out yesterday, Joe, and you sign a left tackle, it's not hard to talk yourself into if you're a Titans fan. Okay, well, you signed the left tackle. You've immediately upgraded the right side of things with J.C. Latham over Nicholas Petit-Frere. You got a number 1 overall pick with a chance to take Cam Ward as your franchise quarterback. Things are looking up for the Titans. We'll see if that's the way that things end up playing out there. I think the point the whole time, and we got a lot of text on the text line today about the Dan Moore signing at left tackle and how it's a huge deal because it upgrades right tackle with J.C. Latham over Nicholas Petit-Frere. And I agree with that. Like, I think J.C. Latham should be a huge upgrade at right tackle. The problem is, like, what about left tackle? Is Dan Moore Jr. a huge upgrade from J.C. Latham at left tackle? If he's not, is he an upgrade at all from J.C. Latham at left tackle? You've thrown out some of the numbers that would suggest to you that he's not. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't be moving forward, but if he's a problem at left tackle, then you're kind of right back in the same spot, are you not? Like, they need last year's improvement that the numbers suggest that he had in Pittsburgh to be the beginning of an upward trend for him on the left side of things. And I have to think, Joe, that there's at least some belief that that's what they're going to see. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone out and paid him the way that they did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's good sometimes to acknowledge your limitations. So I'm going with these numbers that do not speak well of his entire career. Again, most sacks, that's not some PFF made up stat. That's most, if you hate PFF, again, I hate the grades. I think pressures and, targeting and things like, in terms of like targeting passes, there's a lot of things that they can do and count up that are fine. Grades are stupid. It's sacks. Most sacks since he entered the NFL in 21. Most pressures. I put stock in that too. 181 since he entered the NFL. In the league, the most. Pressure rate allowed, 7.6%. Again, is there some subjectivity in that? Sure. But you're talking about generally, you follow those numbers, and they match up with what you're seeing from a offensive lineman in the NFL. That's 242nd out of 275. His pass block win rate last year was good. He obviously improved to some extent last year. Like you said, Robbie, I mean, it comes down to, like, they have to believe, and the limitations are, we're going with these numbers. The Titans have watched a ton of film, right? So they decided it was worth the investment. But yeah, the skepticism also arises from the film they watched that convinced them that J.C. Latham was their guy at 7, and then they were convinced that he was their left tackle, and now they've already changed that. So are the Titans going to be better with this move? I would say yes, because Latham, I would expect to definitely be an upgrade over Nicholas Petit for a right tackle.
God, I hope
right?
so. If not, they're in some serious trouble.
But if Dan Moore Jr. is not significantly better than Latham at left tackle, then it's still, like, you're still in a pretty rough situation up front. And we still don't know, by the way, like, they're not done. So I think that they're going to make more signings. But even we talked about this earlier, but it's like the whole, Skoronski, how much progress, what's there, how good can he be? And the Skoronski Latham thing was supposed to be your foundation on the left side, and that's apparently, again, reportedly going to be broken up. Now, maybe the next time these guys talk, which I guess they'll probably have a presser before the draft. Maybe Brian Callahan says, well, we haven't decided that for sure, but at least Kaharski, I know, has reported that the plan is to move Latham to the right side. So I'm skeptical. I'm sorry. But they have watched the film, and there are new eyes on this stuff too, by the way. Brinker, yes, but there are new eyes, Berganzi and the other guys too, who are in the front office now.
Well, and then who's playing right guard? How long is Lloyd Cushenberry going to be out at center? Like, how much does that impact what you do in the draft coming up? I mean, there's a lot still to work through on the offensive line here. I'm just the Dan Moore. I've said the money doesn't bother me, and it really doesn't. Like, you're going to overpay for people in free agency,
especially day one,
and you're going to overpay for people at offensive tackle in free agency. It's just the way it is. So I don't really care about the contract that he was given. He's getting paid a lot of money. He's got $50 million that's guaranteed. Is he that type of player? Is he a $20 million per year left tackle? Probably not. But I don't really care about that. If he gives you solid starting level left tackle play, I'm not asking for him to be an all-pro because I don't think he can be that. But can he give you solid starting level left tackle play? If he can do that, and Latham is great at right tackle, which is what he needs to be after drafting him at 7th overall, then I can live with that.
Yep. Yeah. So if that happens, I'm with you. I've been having a good back and forth with Ed on the text line about, he pointed out, like, well, you got to be consistent. You say that that you like Darnold, but the Vikings let him walk. Whereas now you're saying the Steelers letting Moore walk is a bad comment on him. Again, it's not apples to apples, but I mean, I think it's a fair thing to bring up. Yes, as others have pointed out, Troy Fautanu was a first-round pick. He was hurt last year, so that's the plan. I still say that if Moore were good, you have room for both of them. I mean, look, in this league, you need to feel good about 3 tackles. You really do. Now, a lot of teams don't, but they certainly have 2. I mean, you're talking about, again, an unproven rookie who may work out well, but like the Eagles comparison is what I made in terms of, the Eagles. Andre Dillard was what was he, number 11 overall? He was a first-round pick out of Washington State. And they end up having, I think, a UDFA, whose name is eluding me, who ended up just taking his job because he was just better, And again, then they let Dillard walk, and we know what happens. We know what happened from there. It's just very rare that a truly good player at that position is allowed to get to where Moore got. And so that is part of my skepticism.
Yeah, I think also looking at the Latham part of this, independent of Dan Moore Jr., is it not at least a little bit concerning that they drafted him to be the franchise tackle less than a calendar year ago and have already decided that they need to move him to right. Like, I understand that there's the thought process out there. Well, you need to solidify both tackle spots regardless of how you do it. And there wasn't maybe a great option that they loved at right tackle, so they brought in a left tackle. Okay. But if you thought J.C. Latham was your foundational left tackle, isn't it more important to keep him there and make sure that he's great there and then find right tackle later? Like, to me, this tells me that after watching him for a year, they don't think he's going to be a very good left tackle. And that's concerning to me that was what your evaluation was a year ago, and less than a year in, you've already backed off of that.
Yeah, like if Bill Callahan was new now, it's like, well, there you go. The offensive line guru has spoken, and he says no. But no, this was his advisement. This also does, it does bring up right now the question of it'd be an interesting thing to get in with PK tomorrow. The question of coach involvement in these decisions. Now, I sure as heck hope that you're still tapping Bill Callahan for these decisions. But if you're just handing this to Bill Callahan and saying, yeah, you deal with it. I don't know if I'm him. I know you're working with your son, but boy, I would not be thrilled with that.
No. Well, the Rex Rant with Joe Rexroad coming up next. Continue to take your thoughts on the Titans and NFL free agency. We'll get into a trade in the AFC South. That's a big one a little bit later in the program as well. Robbie and Rexroad, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robbie and Rex Road.
Let's not cry about signings before they even get on the field. It's completely unproductive. That's a good point. The Titans have signed Mac Jones to be their quarterback. I have no comment. I will comment after the first game. I have no opinion on this. What else should we do with the show?
Yeah.
What else can we do? I mean,
I'll say this.
those guys all down the town,
You get three of those guys, I'd be taking the Titans into preseason games. You're going pretty deep in the well on the quarterback front in the preseason.
That's a great point. Dusting people in August.
That's right.
I'll have some jalapeno poppers. What do you think, huh? Make sure the jelly doesn't look like tomato sauce, please.
There you go.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Check it out every morning here on the program. Joe Rexrode, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to start with this tweet from who we got here? Spot Track. For the cap is fake crowd. The Saints had to guarantee and convert $40 million of Derek Carr's salary this year. A quarterback they no longer want. That's a weird comment. In order to become cap compliant this week. It's fluid. It can be manipulated, but the bill does always come due. Thank you, Spot Track. I've sent that to Jared. Yeah, Jared sent us something about, Bill Simmons. Like, gosh, it's like, I don't get how these teams keep paying $50 million a year at quarterback. Yeah, it's a soft cap. Teams are going to pay the top players. They're going to make tough decisions on mid-level players because the cap is real and you must be cap compliant. Thank you. This is not what the point of this, but I got the tweet, so I just want to throw it out there. So I want to talk quickly today. So I've kind of become a gym guy. Okay.
Jim Rat.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But on Valentine's Day, Katie and I went out to dinner, one of our favorite places. But this place has like mirrors in the bathroom. And so like I walked into the bathroom and I got kind of like
most places not have mirrors in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, but this is like a big mirror. Okay. So it's like the whole wall mirror.
Okay.
So like, yeah, not like where you're at the sink washing your hands mirror. It's like a mirror of the whole wall. So I walked in and looked to my left and my belly was so big. I was like, dude, I'm going to die soon. And then I came back out. Hello, darling. Aren't you so happy to be married to me? But I looked at myself. I'm like, yeah, this is bad. So this is like my fourth week. I've got like a workout fiend at home who has been helping me. But so I've been hitting the gym a lot, and it's like old man stuff, some of the stuff I'm lifting in there, you're in a room, well, also with mirrors all over the place. With some of these, 25-year-old dudes just like they're benching, 250 or whatever. And it's just like, my God. And I'm over here with my little bar, seven reps of 40 pounds.
A lot of grunting that goes on in places like that.
There is. Yeah. Now, luckily, I got my workout mix with a lot of Metallica on there and stuff, so I mostly don't listen. But really, this is more of a question. I guess this is like an etiquette thing, kind of like when I wondered aloud what's wrong with really a loose pocket mint. I still don't see the problem with it. So the wiping of the machines.
Yeah.
I realize, it's absolutely important and I'm doing it. But also I feel like I've wasted reams and reams of paper because I wipe it every time. And if you go to the gym, and I like to wear a sweatshirt, maybe because I'm just not ready to show this body off yet. Well,
getting there.
I wear a sweatshirt and sweatpants a lot of times and stuff. So the first time, you sit at a machine, there's no sweat.
Yeah.
And yet I feel this pressure to always wipe. So what I'm asking is really, what is the, of course, if there's remotely any sweat, and I think wiping the hand, anything that you put your hand on is fine, but the seat, if there's no sweat at all, does it really matter if you wipe it?
I'm with you. If I'm beginning a workout and there's no sweat, and I'm with you. Like, I'm typically working out because the gym I go to has got it at like -5 degrees in there all the time with all these fans blowing. I'm generally in a hoodie and like sweatpants. So if there's no chance of sweat, I'm very rarely wiping the seat. I'm with you on the hand stuff. Like, you never know where people's hands have been. So probably generally speaking, a good idea to wipe those things down. But if I'm not sweating, like you're just sitting there wasting a lot of time as well, just wiping down this entire bench. Now, when you get deep into the workout and there's some sweat that's starting to accumulate, then I think you're forced to at that time.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I think it's a little bit of, a little bit of just situational awareness.
Yeah.
And maybe we could save a little bit of paper. Benjamin says, real ones don't wipe. Yeah, don't be that guy, Benjamin. Don't be the total non-wiper. And I mean, and we're talking about gym equipment, by the way,
Dylan
in case
Radin's on the
someone
show?
just turned over. What's that?
Dylan Radin's on the show. He's talked about that sort of stuff before too.
Real ones don't wipe with their dominant hand, is what he's saying.
Yes.
Challenge yourself with your weaker hand. Okay, well that's good. Yeah, Chris Jenkins says not wet. You're good to go. Jake says at least one wipe a machine and re-racking weights equals non-negotiables in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, look.
All right, so machine, but we're not talking seat. Is the seat included in the entire machine?
Right. Like I definitely think that, wiping where your hands were is fine. I mean, I get that. I do. Without sweat, I don't know, man. I don't know that I'm with you on that one, Jake. But
so what you're saying is like, just if you're working out behind Rex Road and you're like following the machines that he's using, just be cognizant of where you're sitting. Just make sure you're aware of what could be on the seat.
Don't leave a puddle.
yeah, of course not. Ron says, do you really want to sit on somebody else's wet or dry butt juice? Use a towel, not paper towels.
I don't.
Okay, what is dry butt juice? How is that a thing? What? Tell me what that would be.
Solidified. I don't know.
What are we talking about here? Yeah, I mean,
that was definitely going to be a drop.
oh my God.
There's no doubt about that.
That makes no sense, Ron. I'm sorry, man.
Well, that one won't go away for a while. This has been a
Wonderful.
very productive
That's Ron's
rant.
fault. Thanks a lot,
It's been a
Ron.
very productive
Create another
rant.
drop for me.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on Rex Road's gym etiquette, or maybe lack thereof, according to some of you. We'll also get back into the latest on NFL free agency coming up next. Robbie and Rex Road, 1025, 1063, The Game. Final hour, Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Discussing the Tennessee Titans and NFL free agency. So just, Joe, a real quick, list of where things currently stand right now. Titans have signed 2 additions in free agency. We'll get back into those guys specifically here in just a few minutes. On the quarterback front, Sam Darnold has ended up on a 3-year deal in Seattle. Justin Fields has a 2-year deal in New York. Aaron Rodgers does not have a team at the moment, although there is some reporting suggesting from Mike Florio that he could be with Pittsburgh as soon as today. Russell Wilson is still out there. Zach Wilson ending up with the Miami Dolphins yesterday. So, woohoo! Titans avoided that. Mac Jones still out there. We'll see what happens on the quarterback front. Meanwhile, there was a trade yesterday, Joe, that we have not yet discussed on the program. Laremy Tunsil traded from the Texans to the Washington Commanders. You're talking about a 5-time Pro Bowler in Laremy Tunsil, who was originally with Miami. Houston makes the trade to go get him. They send him to the Commanders, and they got a 3rd-round pick and 7th-round pick back in 2025, and then a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-rounder in 2026. And obviously that's a huge move. You're talking about a guy in Tunsil that's been a very, very good player in Houston, now in Washington. So, number one, Washington making a lot of moves this offseason. They bring in Deebo Samuel via trade. They bring in Laremy Tunsil via trade. A lot of things going on with the Commanders trying to take advantage of that rookie contract with the quarterback. What do you make of that move and how that affects the Houston Texans?
That's really interesting. I know a lot of things went wrong last year, and he didn't have a great year. But also, man, I feel like he's still a very good player. And I mean, they got a lot back for him, but I don't know. That one surprised me. Commanders, like I said, they're going big. I'm going through John McClain's X account. The problem is, man, John McClain retweets a lot of stuff, including us sometimes.
He's a big fan of the Robbie and Rex Road program, which we appreciate.
Because he had whenever the Texans do something, I want to, I don't know what John McClain thinks, of course. And I believe that he was like, basically asked, like, what are they doing? Like, pass pro was a problem last year. You just got rid of your best pass protector. Now, again, maybe they think it's, here's Lance Zierlein on this, which is a retweet from John McClain as I go through his Twitter account. He says, to move a player of Tunsil's caliber tells you a few things. One, D'Amico has preached about wiring for his OL. To trade Tunsil, leave potential hole. To tell you something, the financial ramifications, look for a trade up. Okay. I mean, but again, I feel like when you have a known commodity, that's usually a pretty good thing, unless maybe they think it's just this is the time to get out, and they did get draft capital back. But it's amazing to think of the Commanders right now as one of these teams that's like, boom, we're in the window.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't they think that?
Yeah. I mean, they're just in the NFC title game. I mean, look, there's all sorts of websites and tracking measures now for pass block win rate and all that stuff. According to True Media, Tunsil was 10th last year among offensive tackles in pass block win rate, which is still, it's good.
Yeah.
It's not like great. And he's been a great player for them. He's still got 2 years left on a deal. He signed a 3-year extension that is $21.35 million against the cap last year. So he's still got 2 years left on that deal. I mean, it tells me, I guess, that Houston's going to address the tackle spot in the draft coming up, but it is an interesting move at this time with CJ Stroud still on his rookie deal to make this move with Laremy Tunsil at left tackle. Maybe they think he's about to decline quickly and they're getting out ahead of it. I don't know. I mean, I think that has to be part of it here, that they feel like he's not going to be the same player here, or maybe they feel like they've identified people through the draft process that they're very comfortable with what's going to end up falling their way in the draft at left tackle.
Yeah, and the draft capital is good. Here's McClain's take. He says, it's so interesting. The Texans' pass protection, except for Tunsil, was horrendous last season. So they trade their best pass protector. If a team really wants to keep a player who makes a lot of money, they can do it because the cap is, though real, it is flexible. That's my commentary. Back to John McClain. He says, obviously, Caserio and Ryans didn't want Tunsil anymore. And, yeah, so maybe they think they're getting out ahead of it. But seems like, a good move for the Commanders. And I think sometimes when something like this happens, if you're the team acquiring the Laremy Tunsil, a very talented guy who's still good, that can be a little bit of a shot in the arm for him too. So I could see that going pretty well for them next year.
Remember when the draft happened with him and he had the mask on?
I do.
That photo made its rounds again. Anytime anything happens with him, that photo comes
You
back
get
up.
the
It's
gas.
like, wow, there's Laremy Tunsil in a gas mask.
Get the gas mask. That was my first draft here in Nashville covering the Titans, and I think I tweeted Tunsil's camp has put out a statement, but it's covered in Cheetos fingerprints. Thank you.
Nice.
Tweets from 9 years ago that I still remember.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Teresa Walker liked it a lot. She was like, that was very good. New guy, you're pretty funny.
Hey, you know what? He's overcome the gas mask and he's carved out a nice NFL career for himself.
Yep.
Good to see.
I mean, it is wild. Like, think about the idea that, oh, wow, that guy smoked some pot. Oh, no.
It was a big deal at the time.
To some people.
Oh, man. Oh, the image is in front of me right now. It's just hilarious. He's just got the bong and there he goes.
Hey, man.
Well,
If you're going to go big.
wish him good luck in Washington. I'm interested to see what Houston does here on that front. In the meantime, you've got Christian Kirk going to Houston as well. So they've kind of reshaped the way I'm interested to see how they view Diggs. Like, does Diggs end up back with them coming off the torn ACL? Is he just out there floating in the wind and somebody takes a chance on him at this point in his career? You're talking about a guy that's, obviously the production has started to drop off with him. And now you got another injury on top of it. Plus, kind of seems like Buffalo was glad to be rid of him. So
Yeah.
how does that all factor in?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question. And also, you got Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Tank Dell just had ACL surgery the other day.
That's not good.
That tells you how bad that whole thing was.
Yeah.
If you have to wait that long to have the ACL repaired, so they're kind of in a bind there. On another
The
one,
division is winnable. The division's wide open in the AFC South.
Boy, I tell you what, Mac Wilson, get excited. It's like Mac Wilson Phillips. Wilson Phillips joke. By the way, Myles Garrett, this is someone made a good point. Like when the Browns were, trying to talk him into staying or whatever, or like no one will trade all this stuff for you. Did they say to him, hey, what if we bring in a Super Bowl champion quarterback, Myles? What would you say to that? If we brought in a Super Bowl champion quarterback, would that get you excited? Well, they did.
They did. Kenny Pickett, the newest member of the Cleveland Browns, traded from Philadelphia yesterday. So I guess the thought process is they could still, who's going to be the starter there? He's not going to start, is he?
Well, I think they're going to.
Watson's not going to play.
Right. I think they're going to draft someone and Pickett will be the backup.
Okay.
That's my guess. That's got to be it, right?
I guess.
Again, if you want to, if you want to, unless you just really want to get to the top of the draft next year,
Yeah.
go with Kenny. Baby hands.
As much as I love Kevin Stefanski, I think he's a really good coach. Can he survive another year of them just being really bad?
I don't see how, if you're him, you have to have the rookie, right? And show progress there and that there's a future at that position. Don't you?
Think?
I think so.
Maybe they'll trade for Joe Milton.
I think they're taking Shador number 2.
Well, Charles Robinson talked about that with us last week.
Charles Robinson, here, hold on. Let me review everything that Charles Robinson said on our show last week. Let's see. He talked about Geno and the Raiders, Darnold and the Seahawks, Rodgers and the Steelers, Metcalf and the Steelers, plus the draft comp and the extension. Those are all things that Charles mentioned on our show last week. That all happened.
Yeah, good stuff.
We need to pay him more. And someone suggested that we get a gym here, which I agree. I'm going to ask Chase if he'll do that.
Yeah.
And we could give Charles free pass to the gym.
Free
too.
membership? That'd be good.
Yep.
Kuharski put this out there on the Kenny Pickett trade. says if Kenny Pickett actually lowers the Browns' interest in Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, there's a giant indictment of the draft's quarterbacks. This is what Kuharski had to say
The
yesterday.
nicest thing he had to say yesterday on Twitter.
Was
Out there trying to
did Jordan
trying to
Schultz
get himself into a
have
fight.
that one first?
I don't know.
Chip says it's Shedeur Sanders now for the Browns.
I think
it'll
so
be the
too.
backup.
That's what I think. I think that's what's going to happen. And so then
So you think it's 1-2 Ward Sanders, regardless if the Titans are number 1 or not. Just Ward Sanders at 1-2.
that'd be my guess.
Okay.
We'll see.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll get back into the Titans, what they've done to this point in free agency, what could still be left on the table for them. Robbie and Rexroad, 1025, 1063, The Game. Tune in to 102.5, 106.3 The Game for updates of the SEC men's basketball tournament Wednesday through Friday, presented by Toyota, Guinness, thenewcumberland.com, Volunteer Hose and Gasket, and Sloan's Motorcycle and ATV. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rexrow, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. I have a little Preds pick to click later this hour as well. Preds in action tonight, taking on the San Jose Sharks. Going for win number 4 in a row, Joe, which some Preds fans are like, stop! Don't do it. We'll see what happens.
And they really need to stop.
Well, luckily for them, the San Jose Sharks are standing in the way tonight.
Yeah. Man, 4 in a row. What if they win every game from here to the end and they make the playoffs?
I don't think so.
It's like actually still no way. Win every single game,
They're
20 games in a
15
row.
points out of a playoff spot. So, I mean, they could, I guess. They need some help, but they could.
Possible, right?
Yeah.
See? So go ahead, get in. I mean, if they get in and win like 23 games in a row or whatever, that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Get excited.
I think you'd,
Well, I think they could make a run.
I think you'd take that.
Yeah.
Dry butt
point.
juice.
I wondered how long it would take you.
He's been in there giggling for the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
So I know you come up with something.
Here's my proposal though. I think that it should be what is dry butt juice, not just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't you think
I
that's
mean,
funnier?
And to point out, like, you're not the one that brought it up. It was a texter.
Exactly. But I mean, I think it's actually funnier to ask the question of what it is.
What is dry butt juice?
See, that's better, right?
I agree.
Yeah, that's the one. There
That's
you
the
go.
one.
We all agree. We're just making entertainment and talk radio better every day.
What
here.
is dry butt juice?
Stop.
That's what we do around
Now,
here.
can you put that with PKs? Can you put those two together somehow? You know,
Wow, the wheels are turning in there for Keiser now.
Ooh, my goodness,
Good stuff.
he's in the lab over there.
A lot of thoughts throughout the day today on Dan Moore Jr., who the Titans have signed, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, to now be their left tackle. Now, Kuharski reported that the plan is for the Titans for Dan Moore Jr. to be the left tackle, J.C. Latham to move to right tackle. We've had a lot of different thoughts on it throughout the show. Does it upgrade the offensive line as a whole? My answer would be yes. The question I would ask, Joe, is how much? How much of an upgrade is it? We would all agree that J.C. Latham playing right tackle should be way better than Nicholas Petit-Frere playing left tackle. The question is, how much better, if at all, is Dan Moore Jr. playing left tackle going to be than J.C. Latham playing left tackle? And again, as I've pointed out throughout the offseason, I don't think J.C. Latham was very good at left tackle in the last part of the season. He had some moments throughout the year where he looked good, had some great reps, had some moments where he got exposed out there. When you're paying a guy what they're paying Dan Moore Jr., you need him to come in and at worst just be a serviceable starting level left tackle. Can he be that with any sort of consistency? You've thrown numbers out throughout the show that are not necessarily flattering with Dan Moore Jr. So as we sit here now, what do you make of what they've done so far on the offensive line? How big of a deal is it in terms of the tackle spots and for the moment, at least solidifying who's going to play them right now, and how much better at tackle in the aggregate do you think they are right now?
Yeah, I think they're better because they should be better. Right? Even like J.C. Latham making no progress from last year to this year, making no progress going from left side to right side is still an upgrade over Nicholas Petit-Frere.
Yes.
We all agree, right? So, I mean, I think that's you feel better about that side. You don't feel great about all that went on in the last year in terms of identifying him as a left tackle, having this plan of Latham and Skronsky together and all this stuff, and then blowing it up right away. I just I don't I don't feel great about about Dan Moore's overall performance. The question is definitely how much better did he get last year? Again, last year, the Steelers did not want him to – the Steelers drafted to replace him. And then, the replacement got first round, 24th pick overall. Fautana, if I didn't mess up his name, got hurt. So Dan Moore showed improvement.
But is he no doubt a left tackle? Like, I think they were working him in at right even last year before he got hurt. Like, there's the thought on the text line that he's like no doubt a left tackle, and I don't think that's the case.
The young guy.
Yeah, Photonic.
So
yeah.
if that's
now, he may be now.
Maybe
but,
now. Maybe but that's still, yeah. I mean, if that's the case, then like, yeah. I just whenever a team lets a tackle go, and I understand the Titans did this with Jack Conklin. So sometimes it is like, do we want to pay a lot of money? For it with Conklin, it was for a right tackle, or can we go get one in the draft? We know what happened. It all like it was a huge part of everything unraveling. But at the time, again, I'll say it again, it's a defensible position. It just didn't work out. It worked out terribly for them. Remember though, this is a left tackle, right? So a little bit more value there, and a little bit more reluctance, you would think, to move on. Sometimes teams move on from the left tackles. Teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, for example. The Titans were happy to scoop up Andre Dillard.
Come on in, Andre.
I mean, again, I'll repeat these numbers from Dan Moore. He's been in the league. Now, he's only a fourth-round pick, so he's overachieved for whatever that's worth. He's allowed the most sacks in the NFL since entering in 21, 34. The most pressures since entering, 181. Pressure rate career is 7.6%. That's 242nd out of 275 players with at least 500 pass blocking snaps. Now, last year, that pressure rate went down to 7.1%, though he did lead the league with 12 sacks allowed, though he did face Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson 4 times, and 5 of those sacks were theirs.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, some people would want to give him an excuse that, like Russell Williams, Mac Wilson, these NFL quarterbacks. Yeah, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and like some of those sacks should be on them. 7.1 is, I would guess then his pressure rate career was probably above 8 or freaking close to it going into last year. He got it down to 7.1. His pass block win rate was pretty good, 92, I think, 92% plus. So it seems like he got better. I'm skeptical. He's 26, and this is where like Bill Callahan needs to be a wizard.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then okay, then you might be significantly better next year. But I'm skeptical about this guy being on the market. I don't care about the money. You said it, and I agree with what you said. If he's a serviceable, solid left tackle, great. That money's fine.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if he will be.
I don't know either. I mean, we got a couple texts on the text line and calling him Andre Dillard 2.0. I don't know if he's that, but they need him. If they're moving Latham to the right side, they need Dan Moore to be a good starting player on the left side. Can he be that? I don't know. Like, they really need him to be that. And I said earlier in the show, I'll repeat it now. They need Latham to be great. They need Latham to be an all-pro level right tackle. Is he going to be that? I don't know. We'll find out. That was his position in college. They clearly thought he could play on the left side in the NFL, and less than a year into it, they're giving up on that. So what does that mean for his long-term future? I don't know. I don't know if they've soured on Latham. I don't know if it's just as simple as they got through his first year, looked at the tape and said, you know what, we were wrong. He's better on the right side. I don't know what this signals for Latham moving forward. I just know with the 7th overall pick, they need him to be a great player on that offensive line. He was not in year one. And, is that an indictment on his career if you're not a great player in year one? No. That happens all the time. But you need to start to see that this season in year 2.
No question. No question about it at all. Real quick, Texter says, so I guess the plan is Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones had drafted in 23. He started right tackle last year.
They're moving to the left.
Apparently they're moving to the left. So again, that's fine. Maybe it'll work out for him. Letting your left tackle go, you don't see it too often.
You do not. Let's head back to our 102.5 game phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Charlie to the program. Charlie, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning. Thank y'all for taking my call. To your point, man, what I'd be leery of is the fact that he hadn't done very well up in his career until his contract year. And then all of a sudden he becomes a lot better. And then the team that has him turns around and lets him go. It just smells like a rat to me.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, that's, now granted, you hope what it means is like he's just been improving. But, yeah, I mean, He was basically like about to be replaced. Injury allows him to play more. He played better, which is good. But yeah, I'm skeptical.
Some breaking news in the NFL.
Uh-oh.
We talked earlier about some potential guard targets for the Titans and Will Freeze.
Yep.
Well, that ain't happening. He's going to Minnesota. The Vikings continue to spend a lot of money. They had Jonathan Allen on the defensive line earlier today, and now they have agreed to terms, according to Tom Pelissero and others, with former Colts guard Will Freeze.
Take another guard off the board. He was the top one left. Oh, you got to get a guard. A guard!
Maybe it is going to be Dylan Radins starting again next year.
Get excited.
We'll see. We'll have more coming up next on NFL Free Agency. Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Got a pair of tickets to give away to see Aziz Ansari at the Ryman Auditorium coming up on Thursday, March the 20th. Be caller 4, 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Caller 4 will win a pair of tickets. Jeremy Fowler putting it out there, Joe. Will Freeze getting 5 years, $88 million from the Vikings. Have not yet seen the guaranteed money on this deal.
Big money for a
Big money
guard.
for a guard.
It's more than your Packers paid for a guard.
It is. I don't really like what the Vikings are doing in free agency. They may be good. I need JJ McCarthy to be bad. We'll see if that happens or not.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're putting a lot of eggs in that basket for sure. Jackson here says maybe the new GM and scouting department, had something to do with this Latham move. They may like him better there. And I responded, if Borgonzi, McKenzie, Ziegler, they're coming in and making a decision like that. That to me, that's independent of the coaches, including, again, one of the most celebrated line coaches in the history of the league. I think the Titans could potentially be even dumber now than they were before. It doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make any sense to you?
No.
That's got to be on Bill Callahan's.
You would think,
right?
Yeah.
I hope so.
LD.
Well, they're screwed.
LD from McMinnville, going back to our Latham conversation, says, wouldn't you rather have a coaching staff that's willing to be fluid and change course with a player and not just be rigid and go down with the sinking ship? And I said, yeah, I would, but I'd also rather the people involved be right about the 7th overall pick, right? Like if they evaluated him and look, talked about it in the immediate aftermath of the draft, they wanted him to be the left tackle. And here we are again, less than a calendar year into it, and they're moving him back to the right side. So yeah, like if you think after watching him for a year, you don't think he's going to be your left tackle, sure, I'd rather you move him to the right and not just stick him there to fail. But I'd rather you be right in the first place. Yeah. Like that's when you're talking about the 7th overall pick.
Right. Like you want to, like what the heck happened? Like how was your evaluation this? And then, again, I guess the answer is, well, you can watch players on film all you want, and you can talk to them, and you can watch them do drills, and you still don't know until they're actually in this league playing. And you know what? That's fine. I mean, I generally agree with LD, like the stubbornness, which I guess some people could look at like a Vrabel in some ways, right? He was a little bit probably too stubborn and too rigid on some things. So there you go.
We'll see. Like again, regardless of if it's left or right, drafting him where they drafted him, they need him to be great. And he needs to take meaningful steps toward that this year. It doesn't have to be his finished product this year, but you need to walk away from the end of this season saying to yourself, yeah, I feel like the Titans have a great player in J.C. Latham. If you don't, it's a disappointment.
And we said the same thing, by the way, a year ago about Skoronski, and that's not the case.
Right.
All you can do is hope he keeps getting better and at least can be like a good player at this point, which again, he's not going to validate where he went in the draft. Latham, you still hope he does. And he can at right tackle. He can, but you have to be great.
Vikings are going nuts, man.
What are they doing now?
They're about to sign Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle.
Yeah.
They've gotten Jonathan Allen today. Javon Hargrave looks like it's about to happen. They plan to sign him after his release from the 49ers is official on Wednesday, and they get Will Freeze at guard.
Well, I like them better than the Bears. I think they are right now putting themselves in position to be a third-place team.
Well, if they're right about McCarthy, and he's a really good quarterback immediately, which clearly they feel like he can be,
it's a good future. You're set up.
Maybe the 14 wins wasn't a fluke last year with Darnold. We'll see.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe Darnold will end up being a great example of just a quarterback whose worth was inflated by what was around him.
Chris and Dixon says, are they moving Latham because they couldn't find another right tackle and they don't feel Moore can move to right tackle? You can't just assume they signed a left tackle because they lost faith in Latham. Yeah, you can. Like if you drafted Latham at 7th overall and you believed he was your franchise left tackle, you're not bringing in another left tackle.
Right.
Like left tackle is the most important position on the offensive line. I realize they have to fix right tackle, but you're not sacrificing your left tackle to go fix right tackle. If they thought that he was the franchise foundational left tackle after this year, they wouldn't be moving him.
They would sign a right tackle.
Exactly.
Or remember, there's still a draft, too. You can draft a right tackle. Yeah, they signed a guy who, as far as I know, has never played right.
So I don't know if they've lost faith in Latham in terms of like his overall, like if he's going to be a bad player, but they clearly don't feel like his spot is left tackle.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't move him.
And again, that just goes back to, okay, so how did this get screwed up?
Yeah.
But all they can do is hope he's great, and then hope Dan Moore is.
Well, again, if
good.
Latham is great at right tackle, then is it the world's biggest deal that they draft him to be left and it didn't work out at the end of the day? No, like if he's great at right tackle, I'll take that.
Well, and that would be, to LD's point, that would be a good example of,
Exactly.
you know what? You swallow your pride, because they were all the questions last year about him moving, and it was like, oh, no.
But
Well, you swallow your pride, you make the right decision.
But I guess my question would be, how much of this is they just misevaluated the position that he's best suited for in the NFL, and how much of this is maybe he's not the player they thought he was? Because that would be what I would now be afraid of.
That's a very good point, because there's a huge difference between the two.
Yes.
You know, and again, I'm with you. Like especially later in the year, there were more just obvious issues, I think, with him, and more troubling performances. You know, guys are always banged up more late in the season, but I do think that there was a lot of promise last year. I mean, I think like his rookie year was a lot more promising than Skoronski's.
Yeah, like I'm not totally down on him. Like I didn't think he was horrendous last year. I thought it slowed down on him pretty dramatically as the year went on. I also don't think that's necessarily uncommon, Joe. Like I think you're dealing with a 17-game NFL season and a grind that you've never had experience with before. So sometimes we see that from rookies, and then they learn from it and they get better as the year goes on. Now, sometimes rookies, in week 2 aren't very good, and by week 16, they're playing pretty well. It's what you hope for, I think, there.
Yeah, you would have rather seen it kind of almost go the reverse last year with him.
So we'll see what that looks like. I mean, again, still some work to do on the offensive line front, and the guards are going right now. The guards are going for a lot of money. Will Freeze was probably the best one left on the board, and now he's in Minnesota. So what's the answer going to be at right guard for the Titans as they move forward here? Is that going to have to be something that they find in the draft? And again, keep in mind, I don't know how much this is going to play into their offseason, because you hope Cushenberry is back at some point, but they do, at least for the start of the year, I think it's pretty safe to say they're not going to have Cushenberry available to them based on his original timeline with the Achilles.
Right. Becton, I believe, still out there.
Yep.
Things are moving fast. Jenkins, Zeitler from the Lions, who, is okay. Scherf. And there's some guys out there. You gotta get somebody. You got to get somebody or somebodies on that offensive line still,
Yeah.
Will Hernandez.
Hey,
so there's
get them all.
Yeah. Can you get like a cheaper rate, and it's like BOGO kind of thing?
Well, again, I mentioned heading into this yesterday, like spend some money on edge rusher as well. Like the big one off the table. So Josh Sweat ends up going to Arizona. So Arizona pays for Sweat. So he's off the board. I think it's a 4-year, $76.4 million contract for him. So some big money for Josh Sweat. So is there anybody else out there that you identify that you feel like can be a part of the solution at edge rusher?
Yeah.
If you're the Titans.
Again, obviously he was the big ticket item there. I saw Schefter yesterday. I was like, I'm here in Detroit. I'm like, oh, really? But he heard wrong. So, the Chargers went and got another year of Khalil Mack, a cool 18 mil for him. The Raiders paying 12 mil for Malcolm Kuntz. I was kind of surprised the Saints went 3 years, 51 for Chase Young, because there's so much talk about, obviously he's not been beloved at all the places he's been. Reddick goes to the Bucs. Big Z, I talked about Big Z yesterday. Yep. Big Z still out there.
Still out there.
DeMarcus Lawrence is out there. I mean, how old is he?
Some old
37?
guys.
No, DeMarcus Lawrence is only 33. Okay, but Liz Frank, man. Yeah. Liz Frank is not something that gets you excited. People are asking today about Joey Bosa. I'm not changing from I have a hard time trusting his health
He's not coming here,
anymore.
by the way. I mean,
Well, that's probably true too. I missed this. Deo Odeyingbo, Bears went 3 for 48, huh?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. I mean, there's some guys. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we've talked about Von Miller.
Yep.
I think some kind of signing there makes sense. Some kind of signing at receiver too.
Let's quickly head back to our 1025 The Game phone line. Welcome in Billy to the program. Billy, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning. One of the things the Titans need to do is I would like to see them pick the best player on the board and not pick a need. They've been picking needs for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's just not getting anywhere. They need to get some tools in the toolbox. And sometimes, I know they need a quarterback, but if there's not one out there, then pick something that's, pick another need that you got and not just waste a pick on a quarterback that you're not sure about. And I like to hear y'all's answer to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Billy. I mean, largely I agree with Billy. Now, I do have a question as we sit here today. Like, who in the world is playing quarterback for you next year? Will Levis is not an acceptable answer to me. Like, Will Levis being your starting quarterback next year is not acceptable to me. So at the moment, I don't know what that answer is. But largely, I agree. Like, generally speaking, I agree with him. Like, you pick the best player available to you.
Though they have claimed that they have. I mean, they claim that they did with Skoronski.
Yeah. Well,
obviously, it doesn't look good now. It doesn't look like a first round pick, but that's what they said.
Right. So maybe
it's not
the best players better.
Well, exactly. It just make right choices. I mean, at that point, it's not like everybody's like the number one need is guard.
Yeah.
I mean, they said he was the best player.
Yep.
Kind of whiffed on that one.
They did. Pred's Pick to Click coming up next. Be the first caller, 615-737-1025. If you guess the goal scorer for the Preds tonight, you'll win a pair of tickets to a future Preds home game. We'll do that. We'll wrap up the show with our final thoughts on NFL free agency for today. Robbie and Rex Road, 1025, 1063 The Game. Brett's pick to click on Robbie and Rex Road. Brett's taking on the Sharks tonight. Puck drop at 9:30. Pregame at 8:30. You're on 102.5 The Game. Standings in the competition. Rex Road's running away with it. He's got 14 correct answers.
Whew.
Last time out, the intern picked for him and picked Brady Shea, and he scored. So there's that. Listeners have
Dang
9.
right.
I'm at 7. Keyser remains at 4. So Rex Road's going to win. I think we're all playing for second place now.
What do I get?
A nice high five. With that in mind, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Kenny. Kenny, good morning. Thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click?
Good morning. I'm liking Steven Stamkos.
Going with Steven Stamkos, fresh off the hat trick. Appreciate the call, Kenny. So Stamkos off the board. Joe, you're up first in the competition today.
Well, I guess I'll just go traditional. I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'll just go Forsberg. It's fine. I was gonna go maybe go Shea again or something, just to because who cares? But I'll go Forsberg.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly is my selection. Stamkos, Forsberg, O'Reilly off the board. Keyser, your pick to click.
Going off the board here. Going with Jakub Vrana
I knew
scoring.
you were going to pick him. I
Let's
already had it
do it.
written down.
Did you really?
Yes,
Wow.
because I know you.
Intuition.
Yeah.
Why'd you know that?
Because I know
It's
you,
obvious.
and that's what you do, and that's why you have 4 correct answers on the year.
Wow. Hey, I did hit on quite a few last year that were just absolute low balls too. We'll see.
I miss Kelly Yarncroke. Remember when I dominated with
Yeah,
him that one
I do.
year?
I do. Joe, we got less than a minute left. Your thoughts on the quarterback front? Are we going to see Rodgers in Pittsburgh? And is Mac Jones going to be a member of the Titans at any point, or are they just drafting Cam Ward?
Well, what about both?
You could do both.
I mean, yeah, that's my prediction. I'll say both. I'll say that they're going to sign Mac Jones and that they will draft Cam Ward.
Okay. Does that excite you? The Cam Ward part does.
I mean, it'll be fun if that's what they do. It'll be fun around
This
here.
point,
We'll
I'm
see
here
what
for it.
happens. Yeah, we need something other than wondering which tackle sucks worse than which other tackle.
Yeah, give me a quarterback.
Yeah,
I'm all in on Cam
Let's talk
Ward
about
now.
quarterbacks. Yeah.
All in on Cam Ward. That does it for us today. Chasing Big Joe's coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.